In goes Stewart! They've only gone and done it!
And with a quick turn, skipper Alex Dock slams it in.
There's Lindegaard making Forrest backpedal. Davis looking to help it into the path of Morris. He's found him via the deflection. It's Aaron Davis. He could win it. He probably has won it for Yeovil.
Oh, and it's an opening goal. What a start. Madden, after just 6 minutes, gives Yeovil the lead.
Stansfield, good turn away from Trot. Goal.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Glovers Past from the Glovers Cast. I'm Ian, and with myself and Dave tonight is the mercurial midfielder who has spent the last 3 seasons at Huish Park during some of the club's most difficult times. On his day, he's been one of our most creative players, capable of unlocking any defence. He also enjoyed a spell on commentary where he gained a bit of a reputation for taking pops at referees. Tonight, we will forgo Rule 1 of the Glovers Cast, don't talk about the ref, as we welcome Lawson D'Ath to the podcast. Lawson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
A pleasure is all ours.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we say swearing is allowed on this podcast, so go for your life.
Okay, I'll get out now. Fuck.
Yeah, you won't have Jeff Twentyman in your ears.
Yeah.
Normally, we start these episodes with the first time a guest has stepped in Huish Park, but I think we'll start a bit more recently, seeing as your name was on the list of released players this summer. How did the decision to leave Huish Park come about? Was it your choice, the managers, or it's sort of a mutual decision, sort of time to move on?
It may be mutual, but sort of come from their side. I think really more than me. I did feel like maybe it was time to move on and start fresh anyway. But I don't know what I would have done if they had it off deal. I think I might have stayed anyway, just to try and help Yeovil get back up, because I feel like they should be nowhere near where they are at the minute. And it ended on such bad terms where I couldn't help the club out towards the end of the season. And yeah, I would like to have rectified it, but it just sort of come from their side. But yeah, I don't really want to go into too much about it, to be honest. But it wasn't the best pleased, maybe. But it is what it is. We'll just leave it there.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the beginning then. February 2012. That seems a very long time ago. So Gary Johnson's come back to Yeovil, brings you in on a youth loan from Reading, I think it was. And I mean, what was it like coming to a club at that point? Because we had and probably still have a reputation for taking loanees on and them doing quite well. I mean, was that an attraction for you?
No, definitely. I was buzzing when I got the chance to go out and get first team football. I'd been with the first team in Reading throughout the year, at the start of the year and first half of the season and stuff, and travelled and got to experience all that. And then find out when Gary Johnson coming to watch me play in a reserve game with his brother. And then found out that they wanted to take me, and I was just really happy to get going. I just really wanted to play first team football and come to a club like Yeovil. I was delighted, really. And when I first stepped on Huish Park, that sort of made it all. The reality made it so good. It was a good decision. So I was definitely pleased.
Bit of a difference from the Majeski Stadium, isn't it, Huish Park?
It's different. But I wasn't playing there. I was just on the bench a couple of times and travelled to every game and trained with the first team every day. But I just, because I had that taste, I just really wanted to go play first team football, and the Reading were flying that year, and I was never gonna play really. So it was just a decision on from all parties really to benefit myself.
We had a bit of a scrap on our hands at that time, down towards the bottom of the league, but at 19, you were thrown in. You made 14 appearances, I think, scored a goal. That must have been a real confidence boost to you at that age to come in and help a team sort of climb away from trouble.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was definitely a good experience, one that definitely helped me in my career. Gary's a hard manager, as everyone knows. To have that at 19, it really, really did actually help me learn a lot. and grow up, really. Obviously moving away from home for the first time as well. So yeah, everything was really good, and yeah, like you said, like, it was in the bottom three. I think when I arrived, it was nothing to do with me. Like, it was the players that were already there, but it was just nice to help my bit and help the team get out of that.
Yeah, and you've obviously played under a number of managers. Gary Johnson's got a sort of a magic aura when it comes to Yeovil Town. What was he like to play under? Because a lot of players we've spoken to say exactly what you did about him being a tough man to please, but he created a real sort of bond in the dressing room. Did you feel that when you came in?
Yeah, no, there was definitely a good bond there. It was I was just a young lad, so I sort of kept myself to myself, really, and obviously was a part of the dressing room and that, and the lads were really good to me and they helped me out. But I didn't really probably say too much at that time. I was quite quiet. But yeah, no, I used to come off at half time thinking, am I going to get it in the head here from Gary? But yeah, no, I think he always appreciated that I'd always work my socks off for the team and do the extra bits maybe off the ball that other people wouldn't. I'd always put my body on the line.
Yeah.
You scored in your second game for us, I think, at home to Colchester in a 3-2 win. Do you remember the goal?
Yeah, it was just a little tap in. It fell to me nicely in the 6-yard box. I always seem to score that end whenever I do score. Not that it's very often. I'd love to have got one at the Thatcher's end. I don't think I ever did. But yeah, no, I just remember it. Yeah, tap in and running off like an idiot, like I'd scored a worldie.
They all count.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, I remember it like yesterday.
Yeah. So after you left Yeovil, it looked like your record shows quite a few loan spells, Cheltenham, Exeter, Dagenham, and then you went to Northampton and obviously won the title there with them in 2016. But when they then went up, you struggled to get into the squad in league. What was that? Obviously, fitness is something that's sort of marked your career. Was it a bit of that, or was it just they brought in a lot of players, or what was it?
No, we just Chris Wilder went to Sheffield United.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I'd played like nearly every game basically under him. And then Rob Page come in and I played every game in pre-season. Done all right, to be fair. But then for whatever reason, I always see myself as a centre midfielder, but because I'd played wide and 10 under Chris Wilder, I always then got perceived as that, and also played wide at Yeovil. But I just did what I had to do to become a professional footballer, and get my way through into the game. And Rob Page liked wingers, out and out wingers, and I was never an out and out winger. I was always come inside, try and make things happen. Probably wouldn't go on the outside very much. But yeah, no, it got to I guess he brought his players in and he just didn't really, he just shunted me out really. I wasn't involved in squads. So I was just working my socks off really to be ready for when I did either get called up or leave, and I ended up leaving in January that year.
Fast forward to 2019 and the summer, and some eagle-eyed social media users spotted you in some pictures at a barbecue, I think at Ham Hill. How did the return to Huish Park come about, and what was it like coming into the club just as we'd fallen from the Football League to the conference?
Yeah, no, it was obviously Sali obviously rang me and he tried to sign me a few times, but I never actually signed for him. Looking back, I wish I did earlier, to be honest. He was really good for me, and I really enjoyed working under him. But yeah, no, coming down was all right because obviously Lee Collins, Reece Murphy, already knew them at the club. I'm trying to think if there was anyone else. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. It was so long ago now. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I knew a few of the lads anyway. And then as soon as I obviously come down to the barbecue, it was just I settled in really quickly, to be fair. Like Dicko and Nels and all them characters, Craig Alcock, like they were all lads with me. And yeah, just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you mentioned a few of them there, adding there people like Luke Wilkinson, Charlie Lee. Obviously, I mean, Darren always spoke about characters, and it seemed like that squad gelled pretty quickly. I mean, what was it that made it click? Was it those characters that brought it together?
Yeah, I think so. We had a good blend as well of experience and youth. And yeah, just everyone knew what they were doing, and Darren and Skivo had installed a formation, and everyone just knew their hand. They knew what they were doing. I didn't have to worry about Rue Hutton going on the outside of me or Craig Alcock coming around the side of me. Just knew it was going to happen. Whether Dicko, he might have sat back a bit, and Miles Hippolyte might have gone out there. Do you know what I mean? We just had a very good fluidity about us, and work rate, attitude, senior pros paving the way, and talent, like digging people out if it needs to be done. Just men in general, to be fair, in the change room.
Yeah, some real characters there, isn't it? You just say like Lee Collins, Luke Wilkinson, Charlie Lee, just those three. You're gonna you can't have any poor games with them around, and Dicko as well, obviously. You know.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Chaz come in a bit later, and he really was the final jigsaw, really, I think, in the side. Like, he come in and just held there and just kept it moving. And we played some really good football that year. We should have got promoted, really. That's probably one of the biggest regrets in my career. But obviously COVID got in the way, maybe, and you can argue and stuff like that. Who knows what would have been if that hadn't happened.
I think that run just after Christmas, where the results kind of went away a bit, and then I think we picked up a win at Dover, and then COVID hit, and that was it. What was it like around the club at the time when sort of COVID came and the season was wrapped up? Like, did you know what was going on? What was the sort of situation like amongst the squad and the club?
We just didn't have a clue, to be fair. We was like everyone. We was like, what's going to happen? Like, we was obviously nervous because it was just like, we can't just end the season. Like, you've got to finish it. We're in the running. But I think we had a few wins before COVID happened. I felt like as a squad we were like, because we obviously had that dip, didn't we? And as a squad we felt like we were going to pick up, we were going to keep going, sort of thing, because we had a good run, then had a little dip, and then we started picking up again. And I just felt as a squad there we were just going to keep going and going and going to the end of the season. And it normally happens like that, to be honest, in run-ins. I'm not saying we'd have won the league, but I think we'd have had a good go at it. But yeah, then COVID hit, and we just all like, just everyone was just living at home and just had no clue until the National League finally come out and said this is how it's going to be.
And going on to that playoff with we got through because of points per game, wasn't it? And there was that game against Barnet. You'd all been sleeping at the club, I think. Is that right? All been staying at the club because of COVID. I mean, that must have been a crazy situation.
It was mental times. So obviously, that would live with me for the rest of my life as well. Like, staying at the ground, and we had a really good bond together with the lads. It was just really good. We had like a barbecue, and the club did good stuff for us, and we trained. We had a mini pre-season camp, worked really hard in tough weather conditions because it was really hot as well back then. But yeah, no, we did everything we could, and unfortunately on the day we just didn't come through.
No, I mean, how didn't we get something on that day? We again, I know they had their chances and they took the chances, didn't they? But we had a few ourselves.
Yeah, no, I know we had loads of chances to score, didn't we? And that, but yeah, we just in football sometimes you batter a team and you can't score, and they go up the other end and score from two chances that they probably only get all game, really.
Yeah.
What was it like that sort of level of match, but there being no supporters in the stadium? How do you prepare for that?
Yeah, it was weird. Well, I'd just come back from injury, like a long-term injury that year, and so I missed out anyway, which I was annoyed about. But actually, when I look back, I definitely wasn't ready to play. But yeah, no, I'd imagine it was strange for the lads because I was in the stadium obviously watching, and it was very quiet, and it must obviously I played in the games then after the season after, and no fans, and it was tough. I feel like I'm the sort of player that thrives off having a crowd there and the energy and that, and it sort of gets me going more. Whereas sometimes maybe I felt like I wasn't at it when through them some of them games where there was no crowd. I felt like I wasn't through the lack of trying. It's just an instinct of feeding off of energy from the crowd, which I'm the sort of player that I feel like my game. That's how I do. That's how I play. Like I feed off the energy from the crowd.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine a lot of the other players are the same. To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the stats, you actually, although the season finished early, and you say you missed out a bit through injury, but you still played 26 games, I think that season. Which, looking at the stats, is the next highest was 2015-16 when you won the league with Northampton. I mean, was that just not wanting to not be part of a winning team and a team that you said was playing some good stuff? Was that a bit of a tonic for you that season?
What? Sorry. What?
Yeah, so you played 28 games that season, which when you look at the other seasons that you've played, you hadn't played that many games for the previous 5 years. Was there something about wanting to play in that team, or just a bit of luck with injury?
No, I just think I had trust. Well, there's sort of I missed obviously 6 months of football at Northampton for when we were in League One because through of not being picked. And then I got going at Luton when I joined in January. I had to wait a little bit there because the team was doing really well and I had a good squad, and obviously I didn't just come. And I played, then got in the team and I'd done really well, picked up a little niggle hamstring. It was only a few days. It wasn't nothing major. And then went into the playoffs that year, done really well. And then pre-season, the next season, I was flying again. And then 2 days before the season started, I've come in training and I've just got caught in the ground almost, and I've done a high ankle ligament sprain, and I was out for 2 months. And then couldn't get back in the team. And then I got my chance again to get back in the team in like January, February time. And then 10 minutes in, had Uche and Panzo land on my body and done my medial knee for 3 months. And that was my season done. And I was out of contract that year. And then just so basically back to the start of that first injury I had at Luton, I just feel like then on, I was always playing catch up. And I couldn't sustain enough games to get going. And then obviously got to Yeovil and went to MK, and then I had again niggly injuries, left there and then come here and then just had a really good time playing every week. But then I think I actually, because I hadn't had a full season in my belt for quite a while, I got to Christmas time and I was actually for about 5 or 6 games probably playing through a little niggle in my hip almost. And didn't realize it was actually my groin, and it kept moving down and down and down. So basically I was going out to training, like to begin with, I couldn't really run. Once I warmed up, it got fine. Through training, I was fine. Same in the game, couldn't really warm up. But once I got going, I was fine. And I was actually playing through it for quite a while. And then Sali rested me Torquay away on, I think it was New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Which I needed and was fuming at. But I needed that. And then I played the next game against Solihull at home, and I did it 5 minutes in, my groin just popped for me. But yeah, I look in hindsight, I probably should have took myself out of the picture for a few weeks maybe. But I thought it was going to be all right because I just kept playing and it wasn't getting any worse. Do you know what I mean? Like, but then it obviously just went. But yeah, no, I think it was through the playing so many games and playing every minute of every game near enough, and not having that full season in the locker previously. I think that's where my body caught up, and then it's just never really had that momentum really of a run of games. Something always seems to go wrong.
Yeah.
That following season, the COVID season, we'll never forget, really, just from, a weird time not being able to go to games. We struggled, didn't we, to be honest with you, that season, 16th in the league. Any sort of reason you can put that down to? Obviously, we never seem to really get going.
Yeah. I think yeah, a part of it was not having the fans there, but then also I think I remember correctly, like we had to change our back four like so many times that year. We never had a settled back four. Like I don't think we played the same back four for 2 games, pretty much all season, until it was too late. And I think that stability there, like if you keep the same back 5 throughout most of the season, and then you can, like tinker with your forward players or whatever, take them in and out of form or whatever. And I just think that was the biggest thing for us. Like we couldn't keep the whole back four together fit. And that just was a recipe for disaster, really.
Yeah.
Especially when you have people like Lee Collins and Luke Wilkinson that are in and out, and then they were never really fit together at that time. And them two were vital for us, really.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Lee Collins there. Obviously, that season was the point where we lost him. I mean, that must have been, to be a player in that dressing room with a character like that. That kind of news must have just been something. Well, can't even imagine what that must have been like for you.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, quite bad, to be fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. No, we won't. We don't want to bring up bad memories. But
that's right. It's not. Everyone loved him,
Yeah.
He was a big character, good mate, always had your back. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was a moment that unified, having been so apart from the players with not being able to go to games. As sad as it was a moment that brought everyone together and sort of, I don't know, it kind of marked the end of COVID in a way, because everyone came to the club and, left their tributes. And I just think back to that first game when supporters were allowed back in. And I think there was a moment in the 4th minute where just the entire stadium rose to its feet, applauded. Everyone stopped on the pitch, and as long as I live, I don't think I'll ever experience another moment like that. Football match. It was unbelievable, and I think we talked about it at the time, but I think what that moment and that squad gave to all the players to all the supporters during that time will forever be like in the memories of supporters. And I think, as talking about Darren Sarll and the way he carried everyone through in that period as well, will forever be indebted to Darren and that group for that time as supporters.
Yeah, no, definitely. Darren was immense, to be fair. More than the manager, really. A good friend, a father figure, I'd probably glad to say. But yeah, no, he held everyone together, really. He was the backbone of it all. And yeah, all the lads come together and we got through it, to be fair.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't want to talk about too many bad times, but obviously the end of that season, it seemed to be everybody was putting themselves on the line. I can remember a bonkers game at Altrincham at the end of the season. You were playing fullback, I think, in that game, and then obviously that final game you suffered another injury. I mean, it really did feel like you were putting everything on the line. Personally, your body was being put on the line, and Darren said a few times, I think, about you putting yourself in danger for the club. I mean, why did you do that? Why did you feel like you had to do that?
Well, I'd partially torn my ACL in January,
Right.
in training. Just for a block tackle. It was out of nothing, really. And the surgeon said to me that it's actually, you wouldn't normally do it, but it's not actually that bad, so you can rehab it. Yeah, you can rehab it and then come back. I really was planning on playing for that season, but obviously everything happened. I just felt like I wanted to be there for the lads.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you.
So yeah, I was played like, I think it was like the last 5 games. I didn't actually, my knee wasn't really ready, to be fair. But actually, funny enough, in the last game, it was probably the best I'd felt. I felt back to normal, to be fair. I think I was playing like that as well. But yeah, then the ball just bounced, and I went up to try and just press it and kick it away, really. And I think I don't know, I just come down on one leg and maybe hit his foot. I can't remember who it was. And it just sort of knocked me off balance and it just went. So yeah, no. But yeah, weirdly, it was the best I'd felt back to normal that game. Whereas previously, before, I wasn't really right, to be honest. But yeah, no, that game was weird because I'd done it. So, but I felt really good, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as Ian was saying there about players putting themselves through everything for the club that season, I think you epitomised it in those couple of games, and the amount of times Darren said in press conferences about you putting your body on the line. It was, yeah, unbelievable effort from not yourself and everyone in that team that season.
Yeah, and I wasn't the only player. Like, there's loads of lads, like Chaz always put his body on the line. Like everyone did, really. It's just part and parcel of being a footballer. So, but yeah, no, I'm that type of character. Not everyone does it, I guess, but that's just who I am.
And sort of the club did right by you following that, and kept you around to rehab. I think during the summer, obviously later in January, you signed a new contract, but sort of off the pitch around that time, things really seemed to start going off the rails a little bit at the club, and with regards to the ownership. And as players, are you able to shut that noise out, or does it just sort of seep into the day-to-day of what's going on?
Well, we had a good group, a really good group all together. So that sort of, yeah, it does, but we were that tight knitted that it didn't really affect us, to be honest. And Sally was great again. Like, he brought in good lads, and everyone got really close. The lads were terrific with me, like with my injury, and so I felt a part of it. And people just got on with it, really. And we were just together. And I know we probably should have done better that year, maybe, but also at the same time, we had a lot of young players. A lot of the experience had gone. So what Sally did that year with that team was really good, to be fair, to finish where we did. We probably should have kicked on better towards the end of this, like, February time, because it sort of pitted out, didn't it, in the end? But obviously he left as well, that near the end of that year. So yeah, it was a shame it pitted out, because I feel like maybe we could have done something, but it just wasn't quite to be in the end.
And how important was it to you to be around at that time as well for your rehab? Because again, yeah, the managers say repeatedly about how you're always in the dressing room and you're always talking and being you. And was that important to you to still be involved in the team, even though you weren't involved in the playing side?
Well, yeah, he really helped me. He made me feel a part of it, and he brought me in, like, and bring me into the thing, and just talk about football and stuff like that. And then yeah, he just gave me the go ahead, really, to try and be a senior player. It helped me grow up a lot, to be fair. Like, whereas before, I'd always be loud, and I'd always dig people out if they needed it, or say well done, or I would always talk to young players as well, but I probably wouldn't have done it as much as I had done back injury. Yeah, as in because you're focusing on yourself. You know you're there for them and you try and be there for them, but you also got to focus on yourself a lot. But whereas I wasn't playing, so my job was easy in the gym. I was just focused on that, and that's fine. But that's not high pressure or anything. So now I can be the one with this set of eyes as a player point of view and go and talk to people and pull young lads, see if they need a bit of advice or whatever. And I felt like I'd done that. I hope I wasn't too much for them. But yeah, no, I felt like I helped them out, and I really enjoyed it. To be fair, it was a different side of me that I learned about. To be fair, so.
One thing you also learned was how to be a co-commentator on the radio during your recovery time. We don't have a ban on swearing, so now's the time to tell us what you really think about National League referees.
Yeah, they're fucking shite, aren't they?
Hey, well said, that man.
That really winds me up. Like, I don't really get it in this country. Like, we're full time all the way down to the National League, and a few teams now in National League South, National League North, but the referees aren't full time until like the Prem, I think it is. It just doesn't make sense. If there's obviously that many referees that want to be referees, surely they can be training every day together and learning, and surely the FA have got the money for it to fund it. Like, it really doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's baffling to me. Like, you have such a good level and pyramid of football here that it's getting neglected really by the referee side. And it's not the referee's fault. They're really some of them are young, but it's frustrating because there's so much on the line, and a lot of them do get it wrong, especially in the National League. But yeah, it's what it is, I guess. Rant over.
Nah, that's it. You carry on as long as you want. But yeah. I mean, going back to that season, I mean, just listing out some of the things that happened. I mean, first of all, I suppose Terry Skiverton leaves and goes on the chart. I mean, he, again, another legend of Yeovil Town. I mean, what kind of an impact did he have on your career? Because I imagine you probably saw him a couple of times, didn't you, when he was in your earlier spell as well?
Oh, massive, yeah. Obviously, he was there as a coach when I first come on loan, and help me out. To be fair, he was a bit more. I don't know what was it. He had a bit more. I don't know, more banter with the lads maybe in the first time I was there, and then the next time I come, he still had that banter because it's Tao and he's funny as anything. But he was a bit more. Maybe more, what's the word? Maybe more professional, you could say, but without sounding that like he wasn't professional. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He maybe a bit more reserved in the group. He would still come in and have his little banter and be Tao. He always morale, but as far as like working and stuff like that. I just felt like, yeah, he grew as a coach, and now he's gone on to just go and do better things higher up the level and whatever. But I think maybe one day he'll come back as a manager again, I reckon.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to do it, but hopefully he does.
Mr. Well, I know one man who'd love him to come back, and that's Ian. He'd have him back in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Nah, he's a legend, on and off the field.
Yeah, absolutely. So then going back down the list, Charlie Lee comes back as assistant, and then Darren obviously goes to Woking. When you've spoken a few times already about Darren and what he did, what was the reaction amongst the players there? Presumably he told you before it was all announced, but was it a bit of a surprise?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming then, to be fair. I didn't know anything about it, and he pulled 5 of us or 6 of us senior lads in and just said that was his last game. And yeah, I was just shocked, really. Gutted, because I really liked working for him. But yeah, no, just shocked, but understandable as well. I think he would have stayed if he'd have been offered a new deal, but I don't know if he was. So yeah, I don't really know what went on behind the scenes, but yeah, it's just a shame really, because he's a top manager, I think.
Yeah, well, you only have to look at what he's gone on to do with Woking this
Yeah.
season to see what he can do with the right level of support.
Definitely. Definitely.
Of course, after that, Charlie Lee steps up as
Yeah.
manager, sort of by default. How was he to work with as a coach and a manager? Presumably, didn't come in thinking I'm going to be in charge come April or March time.
Yeah, no, he come in and he was class, to be fair. Obviously, a bit awkward because we'd shared a dressing room. Some of us shared a dressing room with him, like calling him mate and that. And then I was suddenly calling him Gaffer. He's like, nah, you can't call me Gaffer. But yeah, he was really good to work for. Got us playing good football. And yeah, he should probably had been given a chance. He wanted the job full time, and who knows, maybe if he'd have got it, I don't know what would happen. But obviously, it would have been. He's inexperienced, obviously, so it's a big gamble. But I feel like in that short time that he was there, he showed enough qualities to be a good manager, and maybe one day he'll come back and maybe get a chance. But hopefully he does pursue management at some point. I know he's living nicely in Australia at the minute. So yeah, he was really good to work with. I actually went and knocked on his door one after one game. I got dragged off at Barnet. I was playing wide midfield, and I just wasn't comfortable. Wasn't comfortable. And I was like, Chaz, you can't, or Gaffer, or whatever I called him at the time. I don't know. I can't remember what he'd like to be called. And I was like, no, I want to play midfield, centre mid. I'm not a winger. Like, I'm just out of my depth. Like, I come inside too much. You're moaning at me for being out of position. All that. And he was like, yeah, I know. Actually, funny enough, he was going to play centre mid next game, but now you're not playing at all.
Oh, right, okay.
But then I come in the following game. I think he rang Gaffer Sali, and he was like, you never guess what. I think Lawson's coming, try and tell me I'm a centre mid. I think, no, I played with him for 2-3 years.
I know exactly.
Nah, but that's what I mean. He already had he still made me feel like I was good enough and stuff like that. And he already had the man management side of it. Do you know what I mean? So at such a young age to be a manager. So yeah, he's definitely got a future if he wants to.
Yeah. And then obviously last game of the season, Charlie told he's not in the frame for the job, and he's gone. Josh Staunton and Scott Wickens, final game of the season at Altrincham. I mean, you couldn't make that stuff up, could you?
Yeah, no, it was crazy, really. But fair play to Chaz, to be honest. He had every right.
Absolutely.
He'd done a lot for the club, played, managed. Like, really, he should have been told after if he wasn't going to get it, so he could have seen it out, and maybe it not looked. I don't know if it looked bad from the fans' point of view, but he also had every right, to be honest. So it wasn't bad at all. I think most people would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that game was eventful, to say the least. There's a lot going on. Thought Granny was going to come on the field at one point out on pitch. Obviously, Staunton's managing and stuff like that. But that just showed the character in the dressing room, you know. We come through and we get a result away there, and played quite well, to be fair, and with no manager and no staff at all, really. Apart from Scott Wickens.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously, yeah. So, but yeah, no, it was good. It was good fun. It's good to be involved in it. Something new that you've not done before. So, yeah. Everything seems to happen at Yeovil, to be fair. Something you've not done before.
Never a quiet moment. Never a quiet moment.
As if the end of that season wasn't uneventful. Through the summer, there's all the selling of the land. Stuart Robbins gets appointed to the board, and then Chris Hargreaves comes in as manager. What were your thoughts on the appointment of Chris? I mean, some of the supporters, I'd say, were probably pretty underwhelmed with the appointment, given that we'd heard there were, X number of ex-EFL managers in the frame, and it became apparent pretty quickly that he was operating with his hands tied behind his back. What was he like to work under?
Yeah, no, I had a really good relationship with him. Since the first day he spoke to me on the phone, I was really excited to play for him. To be fair, had a few other options, and I wanted to stay, and really, yeah, like it just felt really enthusiastic about the way he wanted to work and the way he talked. And obviously, I knew he'd had a very good career. Like a mate of mine had played with him, so I found out information about him. But yeah, no, I was just actually excited. I don't know what actually happened in the end, really, because I thought we had a really good base of the team um, that was good enough to push, to be honest. And I don't know. I think there was a lack of communication or thing with maybe with the chairman and him himself to do with money that was going to be able to be spent. Um, maybe he was I think maybe he was promised things that he didn't get, and it sort of backfired maybe within the recruitment side of it. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed working under him, to be honest. We couldn't get the results. We kept drawing. We had really bad luck, to be honest. We were winning quite a few games. If we'd have won them, we'd have been miles up the table. People didn't like the way we played, but I thought we played it really well. I know there was games maybe where we wasn't quite at it, but that's always the case. It was just the lack of goals I think everyone was frustrated with. And as that went on, the team lacked confidence then. And we then wasn't, I thought we were creating quite a lot of chances to be honest in the first however many games of the season. And as we didn't keep getting the win, and the confidence went down, and we struggled to then create anything. And people moan, yeah, I know some of the strikers miss some chances, but and then they also put them away at certain times as well. And then we, as a team, lacked creation through confidence. And then because we had too many draws, obviously what happened. But a bit of better luck, maybe. And I know it's a bad thing to say in football, but there was times where we had bad luck where the ball would ricochet in off a defender and go in, and we'd be 1-0 up or 2-1 up, and it'd be 2-2 or whatever. But yeah, no, it's frustrating really, because I felt like we was in a really good place. We just couldn't turn them draws into wins. That we'd have been top 6, I think, if we had done.
Yeah, I mean, you say people weren't pleased with the way we play. I think we said it on a number of occasions that there was actually some really nice football being played, and you could almost see what was trying to be done there. But like you say, it just wasn't. And those marginal gains are always going to be the difficult bit to get in football, aren't they? And they make all the all of the difference. But it definitely felt like. I mean, Ian, I'm right. No, saying that a few times we spoke about.
I think back to the Wrexham game at home, and
yeah, we played
them off the park.
Yeah, Chesterfield off the park.
Yeah,
we played a number of the teams off the park. Really, it was just, I don't know, just didn't go our way, and that's how seasons go. And then the confidence, I think, just then went down a peg or two. And that's how it goes. Football's like that, I guess.
And I think Chris came across as like a really nice guy as well. And I think the attitude amongst some supporters that was maybe he was too nice. I don't know, maybe you can dispel that myth of, amongst the dressing room. Was he,
I don't think he was too nice. I think he had a good man management. He liked to work hard. He believed working hard and putting the hours in would get results. And if we needed a rollicking, he would go and do it. It wasn't that it was too hard. It wasn't that it was too nice. It just didn't click. Like we just didn't get we conceded crap goals that like I said earlier, like it was just that, and then confidence just went, and then sometimes it's too hard when you're chasing, like you can't get it back, and maybe that's just how football is, and then that's why we changed manager. Like it was unfortunate, but that was the case, and unfortunate.
Yeah, and obviously things didn't improve for Chris. Mark Cooper comes in. I mean, what changes did you notice when he arrived? Because there was a marked improvement in results, at least sort of up until around Christmas time.
Yeah, no, he was really good. He's to be fair, he's a top coach. The way he plays football, is total football. Is the way he coaches it, the detail he coaches it in. It's very, very good. Yeah, the results improved, and then I don't know. It was just, yeah, just I don't know. It was weird. Like we brought in players, and to be honest with you, I know the results then died down a little bit, and then but we brought in a lot of players, and we had to gel. Then we finally got gelling, and then we had like 4 injuries, I think it was, in the crunch time when we'd beaten Eastleigh. Went through that. Do you know what I mean? We went through that little run, and Steve-O got injured. I got injured. Morgs got injured. Whoever else got injured. Staunch was basically playing injured. Like, it was just, you know what I mean? It just all happened at the wrong time. And if we'd had everyone fit, maybe who knows what would happen, and we'd probably stayed up. But you lose them big players, then it's always going to be tough, I think, especially when you haven't got Jordan Moore-Taylor was playing injured. Jordan Moore-Taylor.
Maguire,
JMD was playing.
Yeah.
JMD was playing injured. So do you know what I mean? Like, there was just Jordan Maguire, Drew. Sorry. Jordan Moore-Taylor. I played with him at Exeter. Sorry. Yeah, Jordan Maguire, Drew. My apologies, Jordan. But yeah, no, he was playing injured. So you're asking a man of his caliber to play injured and hold. He's a very good player, and struggled at certain times for him. And yeah, like you said, you take us 4 out of the equation, and there's quite a big chunk missing them all of a sudden. And it's just hard to get results.
Yeah, and I think that sort of all tied in with off the pitch. There was, the new stewardship, although not in charge, came in. What was the feeling initially among the players when that happened? That the takeover's gone through, and the takeover's going through, and the future's looking bright.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about what happened afterwards,
yeah, there was a
but
lot.
initially
there was a lot going behind the scenes, to be honest. It was a bit like a circus, to be honest, and you say like about off the field stuff not affecting you. I think it did, and it's not an excuse, because we get paid to play football, and that's it. But it did have an effect on the squad. They was coming into the changing room at a lot of the times, and it's just not normal in football, that, to be honest. Coming to the training ground, and it's fine, I get it, it's new and it's fresh, but it was just the big distraction that we didn't need. And we knew there was a rift going on between the manager and them. We knew we were trying to sign players on deadline day. The gaffer was trying to sign players. We knew of the players. They turned them down. So yeah, this is very annoying. It was getting on everyone's, but it was a bit weird. It was a bit like, I don't know. It was just carnage. It was, I almost want to say it was a bit like they wanted us to get relegated. And that's a big statement, I know, but it probably isn't true. He's probably just a young man, got excited or whatever, but it was just frustrating, especially when you got so many people there that know about football, especially Mark Cooper, who's so experienced, and it just didn't make sense. It didn't add up.
No,
I mean, publicly, the first statement was, we're 1,000% behind Mark. as manager, and then within a few days it almost becomes quite
Yeah,
apparent that it's not the case.
And he was tweeting stuff like Weymouth going down and stuff like that, and we're in our own relegation battle. Like it's just things you don't do, and tweeting about everything, like it's just so unprofessional, and it just causes more pressure on you as a club, pressure that we didn't need because we was already under pressure. So yeah, no, it was maybe it was a big reason of why we went down in the end, because it was just everyone was pulling in different directions, and you just didn't need that at that time, and you need togetherness, and everyone has won, and the other way really, which we had so many times before, even when we knew we wasn't getting anything from Scott Prisnall, but we knew we had each other together, and that was better off. Whether he was pumping loads of money in this new guy, and we just didn't know what we were getting, and we just didn't know where we were going, and almost it dragged every people separately. So it had a bad effect, which it shouldn't have done. It should have had the best effect. It should have been everyone should have been buzzing. Everyone should have just been ready to crack on, and everyone working together and trying to get through to the end of the season and staying up. But for some reason or whatever, it just wasn't that way.
Yeah, and there were obviously, well, I say there were rumblings to begin with, and then it sort of broke out into the open. It became completely obvious, although nobody ever said it outright. The new players that came in, there were obviously like 3 or 4 that came in who were obviously brought in by the new ownership, and it became quite clear they weren't Mark Cooper's players. I mean, as a group, whether with them or without them, did you have those conversations about how they should handle themselves around the club, or how you were going to handle them? It must have been a really weird situation to have that rift in a dressing room that, as you said, up until that point had been really close together.
Yeah, it was strange. You sign a kid, 2 kids, really, make them out to be like they're unbelievable, really. But they've not played really. One's not played at this level, really, and the other one hadn't played first team football. So you're asking them to then become a man like instantly in a relegation battle. And that's harsh on them, like more than anything. And then we had obviously the other 2 lads come in, and they wasn't fit. So I mean, what do you expect? Like it takes, I know how long it takes to get back fit, playing at your best. It probably takes a good 4 or 5 games, to be honest. Maybe 6. Depends on how well you've looked after yourself whilst you're injured, on how quick you can try and get back to be fit. But it takes a minimum of 3 games, I think, to sort of get back near, and then to get to your very best, it's 7 or 8 consistent games. And we didn't have that long left, so it was baffling, really. Baffling because we needed a certain type of player that in that window. We didn't get it.
Yeah, and I think Mark Cooper pointed that out quite publicly, to the point that Matt felt the need to go onto social media and list a load of players and their wages and calling out the manager and stuff like that. What goes through like your head when you see all that stuff? I mean, just totally unprecedented in football for that sort of level of detail to find its way into the public domain.
Well, it just doesn't happen, does it? And like, it's just another distraction for the lads. Like obviously it got put in our group, like WhatsApp group, of what the hell is going on. Like, you can't be doing that. Like, it's ridiculous. And it just all added up, because there was other things, like I said, like tweeting Weymouth that you're going down or whatever, and tweeting players and that, and promising the world, and saying, playing to the fans and getting them on side through Twitter and stuff like that. And a lot of fans were buying into it. we're not stupid. Obviously, we're seeing this guy tweet, and obviously then we're looking at what's going on. And it was just frustrating because we all knew inside the club what was happening, and a lot of people were buying into it, and it was frustrating because it wasn't the case, really. We didn't feel like it was the case, but obviously we were trying our hardest, and that wasn't an excuse. Like, we got relegated because we wasn't good enough at the end of the day. But it didn't help.
No. And we've when we're recording this, we've just seen the trailer for the documentary from Lee McGuinn that's been produced, and you're on there giving your thoughts in the dressing room. I mean, how hard was it for you to be on the sideline, seeing the performances that you were seeing, knowing what was at stake and not being able to be involved? I mean, that must have been a tough time.
Yeah, it was tough. It was just sort of, for me, like, the bare minimum is working your socks off and no matter what, not giving up and stuff like that. And I just felt like that day we lacked that for whatever reason. I don't think it was obvious. It wasn't every game. Obviously, it was just that game. I think it was probably to do with the outside of the club as well. But it was just, frustrating for me, because no matter what's going on, at the end of the day, we're there to play football, and we're there to give our all as professionals. And I know full well fact, if I was on that field, I would have done that, because that's just how I play. And it was just frustrating. It's just annoying to see that, because that's not what you want to see. And it needed to be said, I think. So yeah, my heart was pumping that day, and I was very annoyed. As a player, as a fellow professional, that was something I didn't really want to see.
Yeah, I think every fan would have agreed with everything, every word. I know a lot of them were bleeped out, but whatever you said, I think we all would have agreed. As Yeovil fans, we don't expect our players, we're realistic enough. We don't expect our players to be the greatest players in the world, but the least that we expect is for them to put a shift in and give everything they've got. And there were a number who did that, but there were an awful lot that didn't, I think, towards the end of this season.
Yeah, definitely. And it was frustrating, yes. So people needed to realise, I think, in the change room that, look, we're in it here. And you need to get sort of going regardless of what's going on, I think. And hopefully that helped a little bit. I think it wasn't anything to do with me, but hopefully that little bit just helped people, give them a kick up the arse. And yeah, but obviously to be in the end.
You pulled up with that injury against Halifax on a rotter of a pitch. Did you, at that moment, feel that was a bad one and that was probably your season done, or did you think you'd be able to get back in and influence things?
Nah, I sort of felt that it would be my season done. It was just annoying, really, because if you watch it back, I've watched it back, obviously, and I'm full sprinting back on the counter, and I just get to the rubbish part of the pitch, the sand, and it just...
There were lots of rubbish parts on that pitch, weren't there? Lots of rubbish parts.
I was really enjoying that game as well, to begin with, and but yeah, just looking back, and I'm not quick enough to pull my hamstring, so but I caught in the sand, and I just see my leg just sort of gives way a little bit, like, or struggles to run through it, and it just goes, and it's one of them things, really.
Yeah. And then obviously just before the final game of the season, the players and staff have gone unpaid, and then relegation as well. I mean, at that point, what's going on amongst the squad when all of that happens? All seems to come a perfect storm almost.
Yeah, it was just all coming in the same time, really. It was a bit, just obviously we're worrying about not getting relegated, and then we get that, and then you're just like, then you're worrying about your financial stability and stuff like that, and as it is, it's natural. So yeah, it was a worrying time, but then we was glad to obviously see Helia take over, because I know there's been a lot said and stuff, but I think he generally cares about the club, and he will back the club all the way through, I think. And I think he's one of Yeovil fans. He's one of the Yeovil, and I think he'll do well. I think he'll give the club what they need and look after it, and I'm sure he'll just give it his best shot no matter what, and what will be at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, he's managed to persuade some of your old teammates to pick up paintbrushes and paint rollers and do some stuff. So
exactly.
I think, fingers crossed we've gone past that dark cloud of what was before and can move on.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's good vibes now at the club and stuff like that, and that's what you need. You need everyone pulling the same direction, on one page, togetherness. Fans now coming back, hopefully, to the ground, because they don't. You do realise, because you've been there, but as a player's point of view, you don't actually realise how much, when that crowd gets going, how much your energy levels go up even more, and you will us on. Like, it's a beautiful place to be fair, when the crowd's loud and we're playing well, and you feel unstoppable, really, as a player.
So we obviously began at the point of you being on the retained and released list. You're moving on. I mean, what is the future for Lawson D'Ath now in a post-Yeovil Town world?
I'm not sure really yet. Just working on in the gym at the minute and getting fit. I've just been on holiday for a week. But I've been in the gym previously and in the gym again this week. Just in the gym, waiting for my agent to bring me some news. But what will be at the end of the day. Just waiting to see. Who knows?
Yeah, but obviously you want to keep on playing. Goes without saying, I suppose. Do you see a point where you want to be a coach or go into any of that kind of stuff? Or
I'm not sure. Football's it's a hard industry. Takes a lot about you. Don't know if I want to try something fresh and new and go at that. But it's a decision I'll make in the right time. I'm just not convinced yet. I might explore other avenues, but yeah, I'm not sure.
You've dabbled in radio.
I can't say. Huh?
You've dabbled in radio, to be fair.
Yeah, could go to radio. Yeah, if they pay me well enough.
Watch out, Sheridan! He's coming for your job.
It was good fun with Sheridan on BBC, on the radio. She done a really good job, and I really enjoyed working with her, to be fair. She was class to be around and made me feel at ease, and hopefully I did the same with her. So
yeah, she certainly speaks highly.
She's a lovely girl.
Our second to last question comes from a fan. Josh Staunton has asked us to name the ugliest member of the current squad, in your opinion.
Will Buse.
There you go. He's just in and he's getting that already, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And just because he doesn't smile, he never seems to smile in any photos.
Just looks a bit like a thumb, doesn't he?
Right, there you go.
That's
written him off. Yeah, we won't say that. Just to remind him off. So, I mean, the last question that we always ask, it's strange to call you a former player now, but former players of Yeovil Town is, what would be your message? There's lots of supporters obviously listening to this. What would be your message to Yeovil Town supporters as you depart?
Thank you for being there for me through injuries. Everyone was supportive. Thank you for coming to support us, me and the team every week. And just you've been a pleasure to play for, and I feel like I've fed off the fans really well. And I'm gonna miss the place, to be fair. So thank you for having me.
Well, I think we'd say thank you for having us as well, and I'm sure you'll never have to buy a drink in Yeovil again if you do come back. We'll Ian will buy you a drink, won't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Cheers, bro.
Thank you very much for joining us, Lawson. Really appreciate your time this evening and your honesty about everything that's gone on in your time at Yeovil. Massive thank you, and thank you for putting your body on the line for the club. I think it genuinely is so appreciated by supporters of Yeovil Town. So thank you.
No, it means a lot. Thank you very much.
And with a quick turn, skipper Alex Dock slams it in.
There's Lindegaard making Forrest backpedal. Davis looking to help it into the path of Morris. He's found him via the deflection. It's Aaron Davis. He could win it. He probably has won it for Yeovil.
Oh, and it's an opening goal. What a start. Madden, after just 6 minutes, gives Yeovil the lead.
Stansfield, good turn away from Trot. Goal!